Today, I want to share with you two things that are vitally important for Christians to be practicing right now. Hello and welcome to Better Equipped. My name is Cody Balch, and today's episode, I believe, is really important for any believer that is serious about living out their Christian walk in faith today. In these days, I would call them biblically the last days. Anytime after Jesus died and resurrected is called the last days. And here's what I know. I don't know when Jesus is coming. I don't know the day or the hour. But what I do know is that we are closer today than we were yesterday or the day before. And I believe that it's always been important, but it is increasingly and critically important that we are focused as believers on what Jesus calls us to be focused on and how he calls us to live a life worthy of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I don't know about you, but the last few weeks have caused a lot of deep reflection and a lot of prayer with the Lord, a lot of dialogue with other people. I don't think crazy times are new. We read about them in the Bible. But for at least our context here in America, it does appear as though there's an intensity that is increasing that I think we should be taking note of. I think the enemy is very threatened by various things that he's seeing happen across our nation in people's lives. And I don't know what you're seeing personally, but as I believe that as things grow darker, the light becomes more pronounced and more visible. And there are those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, and that is life. And they see that not wanting to run from the light, but really step into the light, the truth, the grace of Jesus Christ. And I believe that's happening. But with the events that have happened here in the latter half of 2025, it's caused me to really reflect. You see, what was interesting is I had my camera equipment and my microphone packed in my truck, and was planning the week of Charlie Kirk's assassination. I was planning to go onto OSU's campus and have conversations with students. I had no idea that that was going to happen, neither did you. And it just took me back. I was shocked. I was just discouraged in a sense. Not in my overall faith, but just was saddened by that, and really just caused me to reflect. And so I think it gave me great clarity on these two things that I want to share with you today specifically. And I'll be going back out on campus very, very soon, and look forward to it. I don't feel afraid. I don't feel threatened. I feel excited. And I feel like it's more needed than ever. But I already believed that before that assassination. So these two things, I believe, are things that, again, have always been important, but I think are not going to be any less important. And maybe we just need reminded of as we step into these days. And the first thing that for you believers out there, and I pray that you're listening closely, is the first thing that we need to be focused on is prayer. Our battle is not against flesh and blood. It is against the spiritual forces that wage war all around us that we can't see with these eyes, but we know and are told is really going on. It's not against flesh and blood. So we can sit here and absolutely disagree, and I pray with kindness, love, respect, that we can disagree with where people are at. We're not supposed to just be agreeable. But really, I want you to hear, and I think this is really important in a time where the temperature has risen and is rising in certain ways. The time is not to put up our fists towards human beings, but to go even more deeply and with even more intensity and intentionality into prayer. I just believe that is really where we need to come before the Lord and say, God, I'm praying that your Spirit is moving and doing according to your eternal will what needs done in this world. And then specifically for me as a believer, God, help me to know how to discern what I must do and where I should speak and where I should be silent in each and every situation. It is not a one size fits all. And I think some people want to make it a one size fits all where you're shying away from your faith if you don't speak out in certain ways. I felt that really even with just this video. I kind of took a pause. I had some plans before this, and I wanted to give it more time to just pray, ask, discern, be still before the Lord, let him minister to me and through his word and through his people and just in prayer, speak to me and bring my heart to a place of clarity and stillness and not just emotional reaction. And so that's what leads to this video. And so number one is prayer. The second thing is this. I believe that it has never been more important to focus your time, energy, and attention toward human relationships, human conversations. We need dialogue. We need relationships. We need to build trust even amidst disagreement. We need to be able to have open dialogue even amidst disagreement. And I believe that in this age where there's divisiveness in the world and also amongst believers, that really to shine the light of Jesus, what it's going to take is none of those divisive attitudes and the spirit of just aggression, but really a spirit of compassion, care, a listening ear, a willingness to listen, and then dialogue in the context of human interaction and relationship. And when I say relationship, I don't mean you need to know somebody for a year. When I go on campus, I believe that I can have meaningful human dialogue with people that I just met. There's just something that is relational. There's something that is real about that it's different to just spew in the world. Like there's difference between just spewing hatred online and really looking someone in the eye. And of course, does that happen in person? Absolutely. But I believe the chances are much, much less. And I believe that's very important. And I believe that we should be living into that more and more, especially in the age of AI that is coming upon us probably more than we realize. And the number one use today of AI is companionship. These false relationships online. Please, believers, do not engage in that, particularly for companionship. Do not replace prayer with AI. Do not replace dialogue in companionship with a fake algorithm. A fake meaning not a real relationship. Be aware of these things. And as people are being drawn into these things, how much more do we need the light to shine into the darkness? How much more do we need real relationships undergirded by prayer, and all of this undergirded by the truth of God's word? Okay, I'm not letting go of that, but I really want to impress upon you prayer and human interaction, both for believers and your conversations with non-believers, those who do not yet follow Jesus, and I pray that they will. If you're listening and you're not a follower of Jesus, listen, I love you. Jesus loves you. I have no hatred in my heart for non-believers. I have no more right to salvation than you do. And I would love to dialogue with you. If you're listening and you are not sure about Jesus, you're exploring Jesus, you have questions about Jesus, I would love to dialogue with you. I would love to be in relationship and have a conversation through the context of relationship and really step into those questions and those types of thoughts and dialogue. And we can disagree, and that's okay. And so, believers, listen. I believe that prayer, and I believe that human interaction and the dialogue between humans face to face. Yes, it can involve texting, it can involve online a little bit, but please, more than ever, we need relational dialogue. We need you to be able to put forth love and compassion and listening and have humility in those conversations. I don't believe that you need to sacrifice truth in order to speak the truth in love and with gentleness and respect. I just don't believe that. And so again, there might be people who take your viewpoints as believers, and my viewpoint as a believer, and misconstrued it as hatred or something else. But we know before the Lord that that's not where our heart is at. And I pray that's not where your heart is at. And so, again, I just want to encourage you with this. As we live in divided times, as we live in times where the temperature seems to keep rising and rising, don't fight fire with fire. Fight this fire, so to speak, with the wisdom that only comes from God. I want to leave you with this passage from Ephesians chapter 5, starting in verse 15. It says this: "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil." Yep. Are you with me? "Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is." How do we understand what the Lord's will is? Well, we're in his word. We know his truth, but we're praying and asking God to then give us the wisdom to discern how to apply that truth in real life situations, especially with real life relationships and people. And so I want to encourage you with that verse today. Listen, I'm excited to continue to journey with you. If there's any ways that I can encourage you, please reach out to me at BetterEquippedWithCody@gmail.com. Listen, stay devoted to the Lord in prayer and lean into relationships in a time where it's easy to just lean out and say, I'm done with it. I don't want to get in the mess. Jesus entered into our mess, and we are called to do the same thing. And so we prayed. The Lord prayed that he will not take us out of the world, but that the Spirit of God will protect us from the evil one while we are in the world. We are not of this world, but we are in this world. And so I just want to charge you with that. Go out with love. Go out with the desire to dialogue. Go out with a prayed up, canopied, prayer canopying your heart and mind, and be still before the Lord and ask the Lord for wisdom. Be slow to speak, quick to listen, and slow to become angry, because this is pleasing to the Lord. I hope to see you soon.